against a carefree spirit, like that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, that is scary. That is scary. Thank you very much, gents. It's time to head on over to the stage now and get this matchup underway. It's our last match from this.
螺蛳粉，螺蛳粉也很好吃啊。 螺蛳粉是闻起来臭，吃起来香，跟那个臭豆腐是一样的。那个臭豆腐要吃那种黑的那种，妈发霉的那种，他妈好吃的一批。
不，我说了，你来杭州我带你去，我
杭州那个不行，那个一点都不好吃。你就不知道吃臭豆腐必须要油炸，炸完了之后你妈裹辣椒面。
黄哥，不是，我那个臭豆腐那天是因为太突然，没有晒好，没有拿过来，一定要提前2天把那个豆腐处理好，然后晒着，它会自然发酵，变成超级臭豆腐，又没又臭。
是的呀，必须要
完美，
要拉满。长沙我吃过的，长沙的那个臭豆腐也不好吃。 它那个蘸水就不行，臭豆腐要蘸那个干的辣椒面，爽的一批，裹一下。拉肚子，他妈你拉管拉，吃管吃呀！
我出个厕所。
好了，GumihO对Solar啊，这场应该也是谁赢谁出线吧？Solar赢的是肯定能出线的，河马赢4-0的。
He was surprised with the gentlemanly offer there of the handshake. A little bit of rock paper scissors. You never know what's gonna happen, man.
It is a bit of rock paper scissors as well, actually. Playing Zerg vs Terran vs GumihO.
我来看一看啊，这个现在的分数啊，GumihO跟Solar都是2-1，谁赢谁出线。嘎姐2-2。 对的，谁赢谁出线这场。
Compared to old GumihO, he's a bit more of a normie. He's still very creative compared to the other players, but not as much mech of late in this matchup from GumihO, especially against Solar. He's looked fantastic against pretty much every Zerg with mech, and it's always Solar that just gets him with like big Roach Queen pushes, surprise attacks, Ravagerling. It's just so hard for him to do it. So more of
最近嗓子也不是很好。
layered multi-pronged aggression where he never lets the Zerg breathe. That's the name of the game for GumihO. And Solar, on the other hand, the king of defense, will of course be trying to just hang on and stabilize. The first map is going to be Alcyon. It's a map with a gold base. I doubt we'll see that in the early stages. Down here in the bottom left side of that map, representing Cloud9 in the red, it is GumihO.
And his opponent, all the way in the opposite corner, apparently going for a 15 hatch. He is Solar. Yeah, no cheeky gold base first. That was a strategy we saw quite a bit on this map, right? Where players were really rushing out that wall and they were trying their very best to get to those golden minerals as quickly as possible. It's been kind of fun to see this map develop because for a little bit there, the Terrans were actually scouting super early just to check whether or not the Zerg actually took the gold base first. Instead, we're going to just go for a good old command center first. We've seen this in a lot of games, Big.
Very economic start, and I think quite good against what Solar's doing. Solar's build is very safe against aggression, and we know that GumihO does mix in proxy 2 and 3 racks marine pushes. He does that quite a lot in this matchup in their head-to-head. So Solar is saying, look, if I get my spawning pool 10-12 seconds early, I've got queens and things out faster, I'll be safe. However, gives up a little bit of mineral mining. Of course, gets his out faster means earlier injects, but creep spread also. And GumihO, of course, with the CC first. We're just kind of keeping our eyes on the follow-up, and it is indeed a second gas. So quick factory. I feel like for GumihO, it's awkward playing against him because you're often dealing with like 3 Hellions and a Reaper. You got a medevac with 8 Marines over there. Then there's a Liberator coming in the other side, and he's just kind of poking and prodding at all sides, and everything hits at a slightly different timing. Like GumihO's the guy who will attack you with 2 Hellbats and 10 Marines at the 4.5 minute mark, and you're like, is this an attack? Like, really? This is such a weird unit set. But then there's something in your main base at the same time. Zergs thrive when they know their opponent's builds and they know exactly when to build army to be safe. Against GumihO, it's always kind of figuring things out as you go.
No, you're absolutely right. Generally speaking, you can make such a wide variety of strategies, right? So there's the build orders that we consider to be optimal, like say for example the 16 Marine drop. You hit the 16 Marines, 2 medevacs, and
反正谁赢谁出线。
5 minutes and
GumihO按道理来说是打不过Solar的。李少基本上没了，李少明天先2-0再说吧，输了就啥都没了，赢了还要看别人脸色。李少给的概率90%以上的，应该说99%可能。哎，我来看一看那个吧，我来帮你们看一看那个李少的预测啊，明天的预测我来看一看。明天一场是 BO3。 克莱姆对邦尼，对吧？克莱姆对邦尼，我来看一看他们 BO3 的预测啊。邦尼2-0的概率9.97%，就10%；2-1的概率13%。克莱姆明天2-0概率46.82%；2-1的概率是29.57%。克莱姆赢下比赛的概率在76.39%。明天啊，76.39%，明天的概率。那我来帮你们看看李培南。李培南对朗格纳罗克。 李培南2-0的概率是22.47%，2-1的概率是23.67%，他只有46.11%的概率能够拿下比赛。朗格纳罗克有53.89%的概率拿下比赛。
那看来不妙呀。
整个预测李培南都没有机会，就机会很小。 11-0，那你要看历史战绩的呀。历史战绩，李培南是38-60。这历史战绩啊，他们两个。
哎，明天反正我的预测是李培南能够拿下朗格纳洛克，但是他依然出不了线，这是我的预测。不，王哥是就这样子。
我觉得他明天可能都拿不下朗格纳洛克。最近1年的历史战绩啊，我来看一看，好吧？他妈的，你们也别吹，我来看看最近1年他们的历史战绩。全部比赛搜一遍。他们的历史总战绩小分是60-38，大分是18-12，朗格纳罗克领先。最近1年就是23年，23年朗格纳罗克2-0，然后1-0输，2-0赢，0-2输，然后输了个7-0，输了个4-0。就最近2场0-7、0-4，然后2-1赢的。其实大分还好，就是这个7-0和4-0太搞笑了。
这个线上线下赛还不一样。不过我今天看了一下这个比分啊，朗格纳洛克居然轻松拿捏了克莱姆，说明他真的有东西。
他2盘都是蟑螂 rush 赢的。克莱姆连出手的机会都没有。
蟑螂 rush 就把克莱姆打死了。
You're absolutely right. Solar though does have that bailing speed coming up, right? That's maybe a half minute or so away at this point, which is a very important upgrade in this matchup. Big Zergling counterattack as well, catches a bunch of Marines.
Solar 这个狗逼真喜欢换家。
Over at the third base too. In the meantime though, over at the third base, there is a big push happening. He's waiting to engage right now until bailing speed is done. Ton of Queen energy available though, so they're transfusing each other back up to full HP.
一个弹药只有火力不够，他怎么？后面直接狗可以回来包的呀！ 这边也没多少兵啊，他
他整主爆速度吧。
他有在整主爆速度，但是刚才其实就一个坦克情况下，对吧？也不多坦克。后面狗杰后援再过来包2个坦克。GumihO这个 TVZ 也不太行。
This looks like a bit of a desperation boost, right? Like I don't love it that Medevac in the front, low HP, gets sniped by the Queen immediately, repositioning on the Spore Crawler as well. You love to see it. Super active play here by Solar. You brought it up. This is the style that Solar loves to play. Oh my god, okay, that could have been an absolute disaster for GumihO, but this is a really strong start here for Solar. This is where he gets comfortable. This is where he
Solar 已经遇了一大波棋，说明他一点压力都没有。
The scariest part, at least in my mind, of this game is already passed here for Solar.
I absolutely agree, Loco. You know, Solar doesn't get the most exciting nicknames. He's being called the unluckiest Zerg in the world, amongst other things.
鸡哥叶师傅今天还没打呢，不要急。我们今天还是会把国手的比赛全部播完的，你不要着急，好吧
？He has such an amazing defense and
12点钟鸡哥比赛应该。
They've given him because he's a guy who looks like he's getting battered repeatedly. I regularly cast him versus Maru, and I see casual fans going, "Wow, this Solar guy is not that good. Maru's destroying him." And then Solar survives. He hits Hive and he just wins against the best Terran in the world. That's a
他这个进度其实还算是比较的快的，他这个进度。
Man, he's been sneaking away with those Medevacs a couple times already, almost getting a bit lucky there, keeping those units alive. Oh, it could have been very possible right now that 2 full Medevacs would have gone down. Okay, there's one, about half a Medevac or so falling, but that is once more like 8 or so.
他们的进度都是在给城墙哥留时间。
2-2 has started up. We've got ourselves that Hydralisk den. Hive will be starting up very soon, I assume, and we'll probably see a lurker den. That's
他妈的不打快一点，一会儿城墙哥来了都得死，好吧？
Obviously, as soon as you get to lurker tech, you can.
但今天城墙哥我感觉应该打得挺快的吧？没有重组啊！今天他打一场马路，打一场鸡哥。没有重复他怎么猥琐？
城墙哥会告诉你，猥琐有千万种办法。这把索拉应该赢的吧？
但GumihO现在要开始猥琐。
earlier in this tournament,
已经没什么好出门的。
lack of Widow Mines or Hellbats mixed into the just pure bio tank, and I really feel like adding these reacted units out, they have that explosive payload. And Ling Bane, Widow Mines are so stressful to deal with for a Ling Bane player like Solar.
Absolutely right. Luckily for him, though, he does have the Hydras, right? And they are pretty good at outranging those Widow Mines, but it is going to put Solar at least in a bit more of a
昨天的喜悦跟今天这个情况，妈个是形成了鲜明的反差。昨天妈中国星际过年了，今天妈
对呀，今年年过完了呀。他一年就只能过一天年呀。去年过年就是李飞南夺冠那天呀。 也就过了一天呀，对不对？李飞南那天他妈的就在决赛那天过的年。
你这就是妈的过完年就直接妈的就直接入土了是吧？
过完那年就回归你妈的生活，好吧？
GumihO getting a bit more aggression on the board once again. There's barely a help. Do connect at the front. This is a fight off creep. Generally not what Zerg players do, but yeah, if the Terrans don't expect it, you can still certainly.
今年过早了几天啊？没算好。
GumihO on the other hand was practicing Marine Split challenge. Yeah, the Marine splits don't help you if you're looking elsewhere. And that's exactly what happened with that Baneling turnaround.
梦醒时分，你妈拉个鸡的！
lovely ambush, and he just really swung the momentum in his favor.
星际这个游戏，你要想赢，真的还是很难的。因为你的对手也打了很多年，也很聪明，打的也很好。
他打 Q 怎么死
的 ？Ghost Liberator Army that's been very popular as of late, right? He finally starts up the Ghost Academy. One thing though that I do really like here for Gumi is all of those command centers. You already brought them up. If he can stabilize here, right, then he can get those command centers to start dropping mules and maybe get some scan value out of them.
一哥有戏，那鸡哥没啥戏，兄弟。夜蝶还有点机会出现，鸡哥真的没啥戏。鸡哥这个组太难了，他就算赢了马老师，他还要面对什么雷诺啊、大可啊、小黑尔，他也输了嘛已经。他今天就算面对城墙哥，他都很难。
这你妈！陈将哥，我估计鸡哥打不过去。虽然说
我鸡哥也算够本的，昨天把马路拉下马也算够本。
虽然陈将哥打法我们不吃，但是呢，他实力还是实打实在。
等一下，我儿子在哭，我去看一眼。
Liberators are coming though. Ghost also on the production tab. +3/+3 is finishing up right now for the Terran. This is still
这个实力还是有的，这个我们不否认。他的打法有点，我觉得有点太折磨了。拉过来坦克，没了，这第四针破不了了。乌米欧这个 TVD 是真不行。
Brilliantly played right there by the Zerg. Shut down that early game aggression relatively easily. And honestly, did he make any mistakes?
马路昨天晚上第二场是2-0赢了，赢了那个雷诺。这个小组到现在为止，就他们这个小组地主，反而雷诺现在是0-2，小组最后。所以雷诺今天也是一场都不能输了。雷诺今天要打小黑肉，要打这个大可，他这个小组可能出不了线了。大可应该已经出现了，因为大可今天要打鸡哥，拿下鸡哥基本上3胜，他基本上都出现了。
But that's all you need to do. You give Solar an opportunity, he's going to take advantage.
Yeah, it's a few percentage points here and there, right? And ultimately that leads towards a very large result. Also because I believe that Solar is quite a bit more comfortable in the late game than GumihO is. So, yeah, GumihO may be a little overly aggressive to try and just get this game over with maybe a bit quicker. Yeah, and ultimately that backfired, right? When the lurkers are in that position, like you just...
那他打的就很没脑子，你知道吗？
You know, it's kind of funny because we've kind of said sometimes that Solar's not like an end game expert, but the moment he gets the high tech 90 drones,
Solar 现在是2-1啊，大分是2-1，这是他今天最后一场比赛，他拿下就是3-1，那他基本上也出现了。然后明天，如果说这场 Solar 拿下的话，明天嘎姐和GumihO的比赛将成为他们争这个小组第3名的一个比赛，就嘎姐GumihO争一个名额。Solar 这个局面，他也就小组第2了，基本上小组第1已经没有可能了。黑肉马瑞现在4-0开局，小分7个小分，已经无敌了。
Down here in the bottom left side, representing Cloud and 9. He's got to make that comeback. In the red, it is GumihO.
夜蝶这个小组现在这个局面还是挺明朗的，就小组里面 B 晕和 Zero 都是2-0，那他们两个其实出现也很正常。那接下来就是阿崔亚和夜蝶都是1-1，那今天晚上夜蝶就要对阿崔亚打一场，一个搏3，这一场搏3基本上是决定了夜蝶今天能不能就在这个小组里面能不能出现。这场拿下的话，夜蝶出现的机会就很大。
But last year during GumihO's hot streak, he did defeat Solar, I think 3 or 4 times in a row in big tournaments, and that was part of his whole turnaround of the tail of GumihO, where A few players had such high win percentages against him for the year before that.
李培南今天已经打完了，今天已经打完了。他明天晚上的8点，明天晚上8点跟这个格纳洛克最后的小组赛，他必须要2比0。2比0之后还要看邦尼和克莱姆的这个脸色，看邦尼能不能打得赢克莱姆。把这个小组怎么说呢？出现很难，我只能这么说。明天我们会克莱姆对邦尼的比赛，到时候。
would consistently be within like the top 10, maybe top 15 of players. He would consistently make it to the top 8 of premier tournaments, but then he would sort of fizzle out. Now he has overcome that. Of course, he ended up winning the GSL Code S, the most recent one. Well, I was going to say a couple months ago, but time.
我们有这个 TPD 是打不过 Solar， 明显感觉打不过
Solar. Certainly one of the scariest Zergs out there, and well, you can see what happens.
Solar 是一个就是相当厚实的一个重组选手。
It's very few players can make comebacks.
我来看一眼。
Maru occasionally.
我们主要在中后期啊，他的这个大规模操作不行。这样的话，你要打赢现在这些重组就很难打。我要想包，不然走。往上跳，女王能不能补个位？最后一下，这个要死！我靠，这都绕出来了，我不信。
Council link speed, go Roachborn. We're not doing it. I'm always a fan of that move. Whenever Terrans lose that Scouting Reaper, I feel like I have to punish them for it. But fair enough, not gonna happen at this level of SC.
No, I'm just thinking about all the most ridiculous thing you do. Just like,
牛牛哥现在是2-2小组赛，哎，反正他明天要看别人脸色，他一定要赢，首先一定要赢，拿下比赛，之后还要看邦尼能不能把克莱姆干了，反正很难的啦。
Then again, though, he's going up against Solar.
就4个字，就是听天由命，好吧，命运不在自己手上。
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about Solar's weakness, is that he's.
这条狗是看到了3基地啊，那这样的话就知道GumihO前期不会来骚扰。现在就是理论上还有出现的可能，说的没错，兄弟。这个好像是不是有点熟悉啊？你妈个鸡，每次这种话好像都是我主都是这么说的。
In the kind of mass baneling lurker stage.
So if Solar can get there once again, he will be more than happy to play against GumihO with that style. That being said, though, GumihO mixing it up a little bit. He's been taking this little barracks here for a trip, scouting around for any overlords that may be hiding on the pillars.
不要想太多，对吧？一场一场打就好了。 不要想太多，我是这么觉得。
Missing an add-on, there's only one Medivac coming up, and this does slow down GumihO. He's very much so a tempo-based player, and already, even though nothing's really happened, that tempo is not looking all too hot.
这个小组本身来说就很难打，对吧？ 我一直就跟你，昨天我就跟你们说了，就打克莱姆、打 Q 李培南都不好打，李培南 TPT 是遇到了一些问题的，就这种导弹车改了之后，李培南这个 TPT 就遇到问题。
So they don't get clumped up at all. He loses one Zergling. Like, what a perfect defense. Oh, hold that thought. This is that movement.
光线，哎，可以。
GumihO coming in with 3 aliens in their south, as well as the alien drop in the main. He gets 6 drones, make it 7,
走，
and he gets out.
7个农民可以。
Yeah, at least 2 of them are going to be able to get out.
这样的话，把 Solar 的这个农民控制下来了。
Yeah, that's what you were talking about, right? A little bit of counter pressure. Like it's not quite.
这狗还未必打得过这4个火车，它还有运输机可以随时走。
That's the reason. Double armory on the Becketis together with 2 additional factories. This is GumihO playing Terran mech, and I brought it up in the previous game already, but GumihO played mech before it was cool. This man was going for all kinds of strategies that nobody else was executing.
You can't let him scout this, though. You can't let him scout this. All loadlings getting in towards that vein. They do see the fact.
其实我跟大家说啊，其实在去年的时候，去年李培南也是这样的一个局面，他也是。 上来2比0克莱姆，然后1-2输给了大可，然后2比0赢了 Q， 然后1-2输给了尼普， 但小分还可以。然后最后一场是李培南虽然输给了软格纳洛克，但是呢，妈的 Q 把这个 Clam 干死了，然后他最后小分优势出现的是这样子的，上一次卡托维兹，然后在12进8 3比1打赢了黑肉马瑞，8进4 3比2赢了雷诺，然后半决赛3比1小黑肉，最后决赛是4比1赢了马路，是这样的一个局面。
And Hellbats and Cyclones and do nothing but defend and survive. Maybe even get a bunker or two. The problem is
这小组赛没那么好打。
realizes what's happening, and you can see here, Solar's just like, okay, defend the Banshees, no worries, and he's just preparing for that giant shove.
Yeah, it's so hard right here for the Terran to scout this sort of thing out, right? Because there's a lot of distance between all of these Zerg structures, so you might not be able to pick up on this. Oh, getting a good bit of damage done.
哎呦，这个多线，蟑螂。 守肯定守得住，只是说有点乱，现在说了。我靠你妈的，No总还给我们送了个飞机啊！感谢No总的飞机。No总大气。22个农民，这已经烧惨了，还在烧。
Not at his third, but on the high ground. He needs to get up this third base and get out of there. GumihO trying to defend the third is crazy. He's got to pull workers in the front. He's got a lot of Ravagers and Roaches. ESCVs need to pull out to defend this. GumihO is not respecting this push.
这个怎么打得进去啊？他强行拼一枪，我靠！坦克，我靠！还有女王，但上面还有个坦克。投上去跟他拼了，还有2个坦克。直接投，把军坦扑出来，军坦扑出来是可以加血。哎，这难道说有机会？又来2个坦克，那这个就没机会了，没机会，还是没机会。这个就真的只有一波爆发，实在被骚扰的太厉害了。农民杀了22个，不够啊，还是不够啊！你现在农民还是人数还是领先好多农民。
Yeah, he's got 4 command centers. And look, he tries to be annoying by dropping creep. GumihO's like, what? I built a Raven. I'm so prepared for this. GumihO with a clutch hold there. And we saw earlier today, Solar against Hero Marine does not like to play against mech. We know this. Because over the last few years, like I said, he doesn't like playing against mech.
这一盘我觉得 GumihO 应该输不了了，这个优势太大了。
is going to struggle to get back in this game. He's on 3 base against 4. He's got no upgrades. He is way behind.
Those Banshees killed the Roach Warren. Have a second Roach Warren coming up right now. I suggested that those Banshees should go back home.
感谢老仙奶前站起天天5胜的一个火箭，感谢兄弟。
moves right here though by GumihO. So those Hellions over at the third base really distracted Solar, right? The Queens, they can only be in one location, well, at least individually at a time. You need to create multiple.
这2天前三应该不补，他在金华。今天、明天他初2、初3回来吧？我不太清楚啊。那总得走个亲戚啥的，对不对？
Right now, say for example, at 80 drones, right? Because he's been rebuilding them for a bit. This game would look very different than where we are currently at.
ID 键的礼物，感谢兄弟。
Against a battle mech player with the tempo advantage.
When you start 2-2 and the Zergs just started +1 range, you know you're in a good spot as the mech player. The fact that you've got all the utility tools as well, like the supply does not explain how ridiculously good GumihO's position is. You have a Raven.
这农民其实 Solar 补回来了。
You've got 2 upgrades, Blue Flames on the way.
直接推了。这个时候其实 Solar 没有太多部队的，这个推的非常不错，选择非常好。你光靠火蟑螂怎么可能拖得住嘛？也刚把农民补起来，现在还没有形成一个兵力上的优势。GG 了，直接 GG 了，这个 timing 推得非常不错。感谢下个 ID 键的聚宝盆啊，感谢兄弟。
Obviously not happy with how that one had gone. It's you know
金华火腿
for GumihO, but
前战几是金华人是的，你说的没错。金华有两个比较有名的，一个金华火腿，一个那个金华的那个铜骨堡，就那种猪骨头堡，这个是很有名的金华。但我要说一句，他妈的，金华火腿完全不能跟宣威火腿比，这个不是节奏，这个是我作为一个都吃过的人的感受。
I do think he should have kept all of his tanks a bit further back.
Yes.
To me, it feels like he didn't fully realize just how committed Solar was, and it made things a little scarier than it needed to be.
Yeah.
But great hold in terms of the SCVs defending the Ravagers. You're going to see in a moment. Those tanks do go down, but they did.
再加我是嘉兴的嘛，他妈那我下次我要问他，他妈的他会包粽子，我靠，嘉兴粽子很好吃啊。
Well, pretty much impossible to stop. So in this group, these players are currently.
以前过年都是去找嘉兴人就包粽子然后拿过来的。
First plays out of this group so far. I mean, it's not over yet, of course, but Solar and GumihO really want to obtain the victory in this match because that's going to make tomorrow so much less stressful.
Yeah, it's such an important one. I did think this would be the match for first place in this group.
Yeah, I think everybody did.
Big Gabe ruined everyone's expectations and maybe inspired GumihO here. The thing is, I usually playing Mech again twice in a row is a bad mistake. He's got to think hard about his next choice.
杭州有什么特产？杭州
We will be going to a quick break.
西湖醋鱼，好吧？我作为一个杭州人，我都觉得很难吃的东西。
Hello, this is Solar from Vitality.
一比他妈稍微休息会儿。
GumihO, and we are doing some funny poses right now. 哇，
他们拼什么？拼。这个我是强项呀，我靠。
항상 기억에 많이 남았던 게 GSL 했던 순간들이 기억이 되게 남았는데 아무래도 작년에 좀 우승을 하다 보니까 좀 좋은 기억이었던 것 같아서 작년이 제일 기억에 많이 남네요.
아 저는 이거 잘 못해서 윤수님이 더 잘하지 않을까.
西湖醋，我反正不吃，我不喜欢吃。
사실 그렇게 제 종족을 좋아하진 않는데 그래도 저그가 아무래도 좀 약간 그 남들 다른 종족들보다
啊，金华还有个东西，就是那种这种小的那种金华的这种小的烧饼，这个也蛮好吃的，这种梅干菜烧饼蛮好吃的。就他做了之后，然后就你吃下去很脆的那种，很酥的那种金华小烧饼，蛮好吃。
제가 초창기에는 랜덤으로 시작을 했었거든요. 그래서 하다가 이제 테란이 컨트롤하는 맛도 있고 그리고 메카닉이라는 걸 그때 제가 만들어놨었는데 제가 다른 종족을 하면 이 메카닉을 그냥 버려야 되는 그게 너무 아까워가지고 테란을 좀 하게 됐어요.
金华翡翠王怎么样？
저는 아무래도 다른
不了解啊，翡翠这个东西没接触过，不了解。
플레이 난이도가 쉽고 제가 평소에도 자주 하기 때문에 아마 프로토스를 할 것 같아요.
왜 이렇게 어렵지? 그냥 아예 모르겠네 그냥. 와 정신 나갈 것 같다. 아니 와 이거 몇 개 안 돼 보이는데 왜 이렇게 어렵냐?
저 하나도 못하겠어요.
정신 나가겠네. 아니
这个拼我感觉GumihO要拼的比solar快，因为GumihO掌握到了拼图的一个诀窍，先拼往上，要么你从下面往上拼，但一般都是从上面往下拼的。
이거밖에 못했어.
완성한 사람 있어요?
와 어려워.
전 여기까지 했어.
가해가 막힌 것들이 있잖아요. 그걸 위주로 먼저 찾고 그거부터
横店蛮好玩的，横店。
제가 이 그림을 인식하는
你们有机会可以去看一下横店。
사실 이 그림
如果运气好的话，还可以看到他们在拍戏。
그냥 이 가에서부터 어떻게 좀 하려고 그랬는데 생각보다 그림이 눈에 안 들어오더라고요. 그래서 최선을 다했지만 8개 이게 한계입니다.
저는 퍼즐을 너무 어릴 때 해보고 처음 해봐가지고 진짜 약간 너무 약간 오랜만에 동심으로 돌아간 것 같고 그래도 재밌네요. 오랜만에 이렇게 한 번씩 하니까.
今天晚上12点啊，12点，我们会给大家抽这个10个666红包啊，10个666红包。昨天反正昨天那个是领的红包，妈个，都怪黄哥昨天，老三你妈搭进去3333，妈了个鸡。
I guess they're answering questions at the same time. We've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's been a while since they were back in preschool doing the old puzzles. Instead, they have their brain at 99.9% CPU usage all the time, trying to solve a little game called StarCraft.
他如果今天你妈再抽错的话，我只让他你妈明天妈自己去抽吧，我操！这个锅我就不接了，让他去死吧。
I'm here for it, man.
And in the top left side of the map, looking to stabilize, and he's going to be scouting harder than ever after that last game. Representing Vitality, it's Solar.
I do like the strategic decision though by Solar in that previous game. I think it would have worked out really well.
好了，决胜局啊！对啊，这场比赛对双方都很重要。
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
That's like
Solar 赢了直接出线。GumihO 赢了，GumihO 好像赢了也是出线了吧？GumihO 赢了就3胜了嘛。对啊，GumihO 赢了也出线，谁赢谁出线。
And saw the Banshees coming in, but they clearly surprised him. Like, if he saw where they were coming from, he could have moved the Queens, got an Overseer there in time, and probably just shut it down.
Yeah, and I also think that bunker fly that we saw at the sorry, not the bunker fly, the barracks fly to try and shut down Overlords.
Yeah,
they were preventing any of the Overlords from being.
他们今天比赛做了一些调整，先打 B 组，再打 A 组，再打 D 组，最后打 C 组。
He should have certainly had some sort of vision a little bit closer to home, but anyways, all of that is in the past. It all comes down to this particular match right here and now. Oceanborn, do you expect any crazy builds here?
I honestly have no idea. I think it comes down to how GumihO plays. I expect Solar to scout, react, and defend. He's going to do what he does best. He's going for a 15 pool again, getting out his 2 queens very early, and no doubt extra queens.
也不要花，
One of the
对
advantages
嘛？
of this
让他们
queens is you can get your
这
creep
种
spread
比赛这种
going
东
super
西
fast. So I wouldn't be
打
surprised
出
to
实
see
力就好
Solar
了。
both start a creep tumor on the natural as quickly as possible and go for a fast third base.
到时候你妈只能跟他们说，石油杯再见了呀，慌什么？我看看他积分是不是现在是排第一
？Absolutely. Yeah, that gas taken a little bit slower. Solar not entirely sure who he's playing against, but he will find out in just a moment.
韩国最高的是大可现在。
Yeah, that Reaper is gonna be sticking at home for now, right? GumihO not really using this for scouting. He did not send an SCV across.
欧洲最高的是 Zero，
美
美洲是Austria。
那
李培南肯定亚洲最高的呀，李培南 EPT 积分有1337分。 你妈第2名叶迪，第2名鸡哥才有620个积分，那这个差一半呢，一半还不止。那李培南必然会石油杯的名额的呀，他肯定会去的。
And that's where that house of cards started falling down for Solar, right? He took a lot of damage from that odd bit of early game pressure, even though it's something that is not rocket science to solve. It's just something that he hasn't played as often as
韩国有自己独立的一个区，它不算在亚洲区，它就整个韩国区。
We expect Stim to come in pretty early, and a mixture of Hellions, Marines, and Men
对韩国单独一个赛
will be
区。
the start for GumihO. He didn't go very hard into that aggression in game 1. He kind of backed out of it. I think with the same setup, he can lean into the aggression a lot harder. He can multi-prong a bit more, and he will be looking for more momentum. Solar, of course, looking to repeat game 1, slap it down, get ahead, and steamroll him in the mid-game.
Marines come in here. They will be able to get the kill on that Overlord, which is really quite nice, because this is going to leave Solar in the dark
先抓个
for
房
at
子，
least
这
a
房子跑不
moment.
掉。
That Overlord is floating to the surface, as we do get a
GumihO 现在只能通过一些奇怪的开局啊去打。 这盘其实开局挺奇怪的，积分计很快。
Yeah, still got that gamma crank to 1000 as the pro love to have. Guys, if you're
这个属于两团兵的一个变种啊。
Yeah, lowest graphic settings preferably, but this is, I think it's medium maybe. I'm not
编
exactly
剧骚
sure.
扰
It doesn't look like the，
火车不停，待会儿直接 VA 应该是火车侠一波。 哦，直接3矿那不是。反正很奇怪，因为他过去的时候有兴奋剂的这个部队。
Everything floats up when it gets blasted, which is definitely how the real world works for sure.
Absolutely.
It's fun. It's fun at least. The Marine drop sneaking into the main base. First pressure here. 4 Hellions and a Reaper in the south. It's going to just pick up. That's going to go to the low ground. High ground, low ground. Plus the Hellions and the natural. Nice way of doing this for GumihO. Backs off with the Hellions and the Marines going into that mineral line.
Yeah, the Zerglings, okay, they're going to be needed over here. They may just be waiting in the natural to try and surround any of those Hellions, but already
各种打乱Solar的节奏。
albeit one with a supply block. Did he just finish the
He
depot?
just came out of it. Yeah, he started two depots.
再
But
投
he
出
had one
去。
already finishing, so it was
兴奋剂马上好了，
actually
这个
perfect
兴奋剂
timing.
很
It was
快啊
an。almost supply block, which is pretty much optimal. Third command center started, double engineering bay as well. He's going to try and group up his units for a moment. I wouldn't mind maybe a Hellion drop rotating into the main. Fighting the queens. Oh, he's actually draining a few transfuses, which is pretty good to soften those queens up for the future.
Third command center is going to finish up in the main base. This is
说到女王按的很多，所以说前期的话有女王在，基本上Gumio的骚扰是烧不到东西的。
economical damage was almost a necessity, and
但这个两船兵又有一点多了，两船兵有点多。
he's just trying to get
但有狗啊，有狗就无所谓。你哎，说到操作失误了，
they're going to be wondering
两个有能量的女王全倒，
This is what we call the troll bunker loco.
这啥？
The idea behind the troll
直接
bunker
投坦克
is when Solar goes to take that
蛙跳。
you go, haha, I have a bunker here, and Solar's brain breaks a little bit because he goes.
那我只能说 ，Solar 绝对会
This is
绝不会
literally
换家的呀，这种
the
局面。
weirdest thing I've seen in a while. This level of match, this late in the game, that is a confusing maneuver. I love it.
Oh, it's actually going to get scouted. Yeah, look at
打的
this.
是真的很有创意。
Literal double take, right? Like that is a Zork
Look at
can win
Solar.
an
He
academy
looks
award.
stressed on his camera. He's like, I don't know why you're doing that, and it's confusing me.
You can obviously salvage the bunker too, get the majority of your resources back. As awkward as this play is, it's forcing Solar at the very least to now take the fourth
后续
base
坦克
over
已经
on
来
the
了
left side, the suboptimal
说他
location.
只能换家，他没有别的选择，因为这个局面，说到到现在为止，毒爆的速度还没按下去。其实他被骚扰的是有点乱的，说了，先把地堡咬掉，地堡咬掉就稍微安心一点。这个时候狗其可以绕出去了，要换家了。他坦克这样架你也没办法。
Combat shields and stim is good, but 1-1 is still 40 seconds out.
Absolutely, that's not going to finish up just yet. Neither is bailing speed though in this game, right?
公牛打得很聪明，他就不按照你的节奏来，他就按照自己节奏来。虽然可能看起来是在乱打，但不重要。
No. They don't have a landing permit.
把你后续的这个援兵结束之后啊，现在就要找机会来包了。但Solar还是没有升级毒爆速度啊，这个毒爆速度一直没升级。毒爆速度没升级，这个问题太大了。我感觉Solar这把可能要输啊。你这没有毒爆速度你怎么打？
Can't have any biomass in underneath there. Honestly, the supply is not.
现在才看到，那7分40秒才点下去。
Solar's going hydrogen. His bailing speed started. I feel like bailing speed's late enough. If GumihO can force a fight, that'd be great. But yeah, a few Marines stumble in. He's got to put a bit more pressure on now, because a minute from now he's going to have to back away when bailing speed is done.
Now, these siege tanks are in a really lovely spot, but indeed, this is not really provoking the Zerg that much, right?
现在这个局面就不能冲啊，现在只能够慢慢的拖，把毒爆速度拖出来。
This is going to be really tricky for me to hold. Okay, Solar not taking the bait for now. He knows that the siege tanks are in a position.
必须把毒爆速度拖出来。
Very little surface area. Okay, he's trying to deny the pathing
这个位置太猥琐了。
Quite a few transfuses though are being soaked.
Yeah, I mean, those transfuses are gone. He's out of juice right now. Those queens have done a great job soaking damage, buying time, but they are, of course, now out of energy. They can't.
公牛后续的部队后续有一大波部队没有过来。
Splash, his Lingbane counter attack or
啊，毒爆速度拖好了。
It's ready to cut off reinforcements.
其实毒爆在升级毒爆速度这段时间，公牛并没有给到Solar太大的一个压力。 这样正面包掉的话，基本上公牛也不好。女王你妈的是多啊你！这个位置好猥琐啊！直接抽，直接抽。卡位置是真的卡得好，但没有用，你架不住多啊。第二波过来，但是已经在军坦上了，你这边就2个坦克。 过来 F2， 所有的部队过来，准备包上去，包上去。毒爆没有，哎，毒爆被自己卡住了，但还是因为多啊，还是多。
And that looked like a bit of an overextension to me, but the supply count is still looking solid here for Gumi.
Supply's good for Gumi.
刚才毒爆是被自己卡住了，就有点二。女王防一面。哇，他干嘛？他怎么？这手汗出的有那么多吗？
That's it. I mean, you can't attack head-on creep against those bailings. He has to split up and attack 4 places at once. You're playing one of the best defensive multitaskers in the world in Solar. That's so scary.
2-2 is finished up right now for the Terran, so does Marines.
种包是包不到东西，你在金场外面你怎么可能包得到东西？ 我操，GumihO这个扎身扎的我也是醉了，那也是个扎本。啊，这边上面有3传边，那这样的话女王有点守不住，女王只能拖时间，好，拖到自己狗毒包来。 40也到了，没有问题。这波GumihO又送了，节奏很快啊！下面继续打，那这个基地应该守不住。
He's keeping Solar small enough. Remember, with limited creep spread, if you don't take a 5th base, your main's half mine out, your natural's about to half mine out. Solar will not be able to use the worker advantage as these bases.
打到这个局面 ，Solar 现在是一个相对来说比较大的优势啊。Solar 的3本的科技要比，就这个科技来看的话，要比GumihO要快太多了。GumihO 现在还是枪坦的组合。 而且没有4矿的这个枪弹。第3本升级一升级完，飞蛇一按。
He's dropping the northern base again while picking up to drop the back of the natural at the same time, and he's got marine tank on the front. He's being a nuisance.
GumihO 节奏很快，各种的在左线，但Solar 这个防守也防得很好。两边跟我这，哎呀，这运输机没了，那。 12点的部队就能下来了，来守这边矿了。这个矿可能要掉，他不想掉，他直接跟你拼了，直接来。没多少部队啊，GumihO。哦，家里面又在投，2矿在投。点掉，但刺车来了，就没用了。 哇靠，节奏那么快吗？节奏？但这个在送兵啊，Solar不管了，直接给你换家，他知道你家里没东西，你就把这个基地打掉又能怎么样呢？送了那么多的部队，没了，GumihO输了，GumihO打不过Solar，这个 TVZ 的确打不过Solar。
You had to expend all of your resources, so many marines and medevacs to get the damage that you found. It'd be crippling if you had a full economy behind it, but you don't. I have smashed your worker countdown. You've got only a few marines left over. GumihO's on the ropes.
This is not even
Solar 飞蛇都没出，直接就正面一拳来了，哇，靠这毒爆！
Look at this man.
哇，Solar 已经歪着脖子在打了，他已经知道自己赢了。GG。感觉他好像对这场赢的也不是特别满意啊。
哎呀，我来了，我靠了，
觉得自己没有发挥好，你看在摇头。
哎呀，
失误是很多啊。
妈的，哄小孩吃药真难哄啊！
这有什么哄小孩吃？我跟你说，小孩你妈的每升一场币都会坏一坏。
哼，哄他喝药呀，他烧起来了就哄他喝这个。喝美
又不难喝，我靠，
是不难喝，但是他不喝呀。
那这样的话 ，Solar 也是顺利晋级到了12强，他应该是小组第2。对。
And you could see here the overwhelming, when he's got the numbers advantage like that, he just looks unstoppable at this stage of the game.
No, you're absolutely right. This was a brilliantly played game by Solar, not really missing a beat here, right? And this is the type of game that he wanted to bring in every single match of this series. In game number 2, he ended up going for a Roach Ravager Queen push, but he did that right after losing about 20-odd.
李培南是肯定能够晋级到石油杯的，我再跟大家说一下，他的这个就那个 EPT 的积分非常的高，毫无悬念。
And then of course we had game number 3. That's the one that just completed. Yeah, maybe not the cleanest game, right? Not at least compared to game number 1, but Solar ultimately brought it home.
Yeah, I mean, well, GumihO did what GumihO does best. He made the game messy as all heck. He drags you into the mud.
下一场就应该是要打大可对鸡哥的比赛了。
There was enough good holds. And I think Solar just did a very good job of judging how many workers.
终于来了。
Only 72, 75 drones, you know, the minimum you need. And you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But it was correct for the sort of wild aggression that GumihO was throwing at him.
美林就是小孩子喝的，美林就是那种，哎，你妈的，其实对小孩子来说其实是那种糖呀，甜的呀，对不对？
这真不难喝。
美林不难喝的。 小孩不喝是因为他对药这个字有排斥。
Solar, congratulations on
他喜欢喝什么饮料吗？
小孩子不能喝饮料，小孩子只能喝水呀。
我说平常他喜欢喝什么饮料？
他们平常也没有呀，只有饮水给他喝呀。
I really dislike my performance today. I played pretty well against Humor and also against GumihO. Yeah, but it is what it is. Well, anyway, I advanced to playoffs, so I hope I can do better in tomorrow. Yeah.
So that's not even you at your full power.
It was.
Well, we cannot wait to see what else you're going to bring us in this tournament. Exciting games, creativity, your defense all over the place, your offense.
果汁也不喝呀，他只有水喝。我每次都骗他，我说你现在喝了肚子要痛的，你只能等你长胡子了才能喝。他你妈就经常摸自己嘴巴说他妈为什么不长胡子？
But just for myself, I shouldn't care that much, but I was. So tomorrow I just only focusing on just show you guys my best skill as possible. Yeah, that's all.
And is there anything the audience can do to be better and more supportive for you?
Actually, if you guys cheer for me, I think my nervous could be like better. So please give me some big noise, please.
You heard him, audience. This is not the last we've seen of Solar, but it was certainly an excellent display, and he's got even better games to show us. Solar, I'm going to let you take a rest, prepare for those future games, and, well,
感谢邱老，现在我追不到 YDLZ 的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。
感谢兄弟啊！
哎呀，终于要等鸡哥的比赛了。
对，鸡哥的比赛上面写的是还有8分钟就打了。
看到同龄人喝饮料就瞒不住了。这你妈，他同龄的也不能喝饮料的呀。
肯定会有人喝的，你不要想这件事情。
他前2天出去玩，看到他表哥喝了饮料，我操你妈的，羡慕的一逼。他表哥现在跟孙宁差不多大，8、9岁。妈，第一次喝了一杯雪碧，我靠，在旁边看了好久，羡慕的一逼。
Game 2, he kind of decided to go all out offense, no defense at all.
估计心里面在想，表哥没胡子，为什么能喝？
There's normally where I kill guys, but GumihO did not make it easy on him. It was a fun start, closer than I felt like it was in the GSL Code S finals, but unfortunately for Gumi, just barely not enough.
Tough, Ben. Yeah, I mean, like as Kevin said, it was closer than the GSL finals. It was like that was kind of brutal. You wanted GumihO to win a few more maps. He got 1 map on the board, but then it was just all about Solar. And GumihO put up a real good fight here. I like what he brought out with the mech build as well, just being a bit crazy all over the shop. But one thing that's decent for GumihO is he's got Scarlet left, which, when I say decent for him, it's nice that he's still got a chance to make it, because he's obviously been a bit of a bumpy ride so far, but he did showcase a lot of cool builds and cool ways to play.
我们切过去吧，那边已经开始吹牛逼了。
OK。B 频道是吧？
C。